Not too bad out on the highways to start your Monday morning. We do have I-26 westbound at Old Sandy Run Road. That would be exit 125. There is an accident there. But aside from that, all moving well across the Midlands. And we're looking for sunny skies actually for a good part of the week. 83 today, 86 tomorrow, 88 on Wednesday, could hit 90 on Thursday before we get some thunderstorms throughout the weekend. But right now it's a cooler start, but still pretty nice. It is 60 on the early game.
(803-404-6100). There's a baseball game tomorrow. And guess what? You can still win money. Go to 1075thegame.com and register for the Palmetto Citizens FCU Grand Slam giveaway. We're going to give you a stat in a second. But go to 1075thegame.com and register for the Palmetto Citizens FCU Grand Slam giveaway. There is $1,350 in the pot. They're due. They are due. South Carolina is due. Tennessee hit a Grand Slam on Friday. That is 11 Grand Slams for Tennessee this year. 11. Sets a new SEC record. Previous record was held by LSU with 10 Grand Slams in 1998.
As I just said, we have to cross-reference this. Have we also set a record for
We
zero?
might have. I have no idea on this. I have no idea. But you feel like South Carolina is due. So I would suggest today, while you're sitting at the office, go to 1075thegame.com and register the Palmetto Citizens FCU Grand Slam giveaway, where if a South Carolina batter, not a Tennessee or an opponent, hits a Grand Slam, you can win all the cash in the pot. Right now, there's $1,350. Again, go to 1075thegame.com.
You saw women's softball got a Grand Slam yesterday.
Does that count?
I would love for it. That would be fantastic for somebody, one of our listeners. But yeah, pretty cool for them.
Do we have to adjust the rules here late in the season on that?
I think it's fair to punt, but I thought that was really exciting for them.
If they don't get one, we go back to the women's side and we pull. Okay, we'll run that up the flagpole with management and see how they feel about that. Go about it there. Go register. There's a game tomorrow. Hoover not known to give up a lot of home runs.
Big part.
Mm-hmm. But who knows? They're due again with the Grand Slam on Friday night. Tennessee set the record.
All our goals are in front of us.
Great.
Even our Grand Slam
still
goals.
There.
Yep, still there.
Amen.
You see all the boards, win the SEC, race the whole regional, hit a Grand Slam.
Yeah, it's up there.
Still up there.
Yeah, it's kind of like that thermometer, when they do a blood drive or a fundraiser or something, they're trying to get to the very top of that thermometer. It's like, still haven't quite hit it yet, but it's there.
It's possible. It's possible. 803-404-6100. Let's get out to the Love Chevy phone lines. Gamecock Larry wants to weigh in. How you doing this morning, young man?
Well, I'm doing okay, but I'm afraid ain't no dues gonna be paid anytime soon. This is the worst that I've seen this Gamecock baseball team in a while. And they keep saying we went to this regional and that regional and this super regional. What has this coach done as far as recruiting? As I do not know. Analytical Kingston has got to go so we can get a coach that knows fundamental baseball. I'm telling you. I don't. going into the SEC conference tournament, and he comes out, oh, we're gonna be Johnny Holstaff. Johnny Holstaff. He don't even know who he don't even have a starting pitcher. Now you think back, and you talking about do this, do that, and but one good thing I think I was watching a softball game and I fell asleep, but I think they might have won yesterday. That's one good thing. My motocross driver, he showed up this weekend. My drag racing driver, they got rained out. But as far as baseball, I'm giving up. I'm not going to say nothing else about this team. I'm not going to say anything until on my list. I want to see a short list. I don't know how to say it, of a coaching staff. I want to get it over with, and I want to Coach Tanner to go ahead and get the checkbook out, write another buyout, send this coach on the way. We don't need him. He has ruined this Gamecock baseball tradition. Yes, he has. And I don't care what you say. Well, I don't care what you say, Mr. Gutter. I don't care what anybody else says. I've been watching Gamecock baseball since Sawyer Fire Field. I've been watching baseball games off and on for the last 88 years, and I've never seen anything like this. That's all I got to say. I love all y'all. I even love old Coach Kingston, but he got to go. He got to go. I love y'all. Have a good day. Go Gamecock. Talk to you later.
There we go. Recovered at the end. He had me worried throughout the call. We recovered. Nice flourish at the end.
Can we just accept that Ray Tanner was a generational coach? That what Ray Tanner did?
But do other programs have to settle for a generational coach? Others have sustained successes. Can't we want that and expect that we could
want
get
$1 million.
more than one coach? But I'm just saying.
Is John Shire living up to Mike Krzyzewski?
Not so much.
I mean, I just use that as an example.
The last couple of years, I mean, he did well. They went pretty deep into the playoff.
That's not good for Duke. Have they been to the Final Four?
I don't know what conversation we're having now, but John Shire's only been there for 1 year.
2.
Okay.
Two. But yeah, I'm just all I'm saying. I know what you're saying.
I don't know what conversation we're having. I don't know what we're trying to do, but yes, we can accept that Ray Tanner was a generational coach who took over a traditionally proud baseball team.
A good program.
A traditionally proud baseball team who is not living up to any of those standards. There's statistics to back that up.
Right, but I'm just saying, like, South Carolina was a good baseball program before Ray Tanner. They were a nationally elite program under Ray Tanner. Mm-hmm. And honestly, if you look at the numbers, they're good now. And that's not, I get it. All I'm saying is they're good. That doesn't mean that you should be happy with it.
What does good mean? I don't know.
Good means you're having winning season. I think they've had one losing, maybe two. They've had one losing season under Mark Kingston, and I don't know if that means it's easy to have a winning season in baseball. Like easy to, because you schedule non-conference games that you should win that get you to 14-2 or 13-1. I don't know, something like that prior to starting the season. Then you play those midweek games that you feel like you should win. So it feels like you've baked in a record. And I'm not saying this for South Carolina. I'm saying this across the board. But South Carolina was a good baseball program prior to Ray Tanner. They were phenomenal under Ray Tanner. And do we now just accept that Ray Tanner was a generational coach that we all got to live and watch, and that nobody will ever live up to Ray Tanner here?
No.
Really?
Really.
Okay.
No, you don't accept that because the idea is that you don't want to go backwards from when you establish something, you continue to want to move forward from there. And the program has not. I don't think so.
I mean, no, I get wanting and saying and believing that we can do better. I'm not trying to argue. I'm not trying to tell people to accept what they are. Texter sends in this text that says South Carolina baseball has lost 20-plus regular season games for the sixth time in 7 full seasons. It only happened twice the previous 17 seasons. And that's my point, is like what Ray Tanner did, we have to maybe accept that will never be done again at the University of South Carolina. That was a generational that people will talk, much like Frank McGuire, much like what we're experiencing with Dawn Staley. Yeah, one day Dawn Staley's going to step away. And at some point, but that doesn't mean that success is going to continue, and that doesn't mean you have to be happy with it. I'm not telling people to go in the streets and be like, oh, this is it. This is all we can do. I'm happy. I'm just, does it make you more understanding of a generational coach? We talk about generational players.
Mm-hmm.
There are generational coaches, right? We can use that term. That's an okay term, right?
Yeah, that's fair. We're not close.
No, we're not. They're not.
Not even close.
All right, I'm with you.
83 and 96 in the last 7 seasons in the SEC.
Say that again.
83 and 96.
Say it again.
83
It's not good.
wins, 96 losses. That's not good. You said they were good. I'm saying that's not good.
It's average. I'll give you that, yeah.
Good is not average.
I understand.
That's average.
I understand.
Good is not average. Good is a B. Average is a C. Those are two different things.
Oh, thank goodness you weren't my father in school.
Those are two different things.
Thank goodness you weren't. Yeah. We would have had a misunderstanding there, I can promise you that.
Yeah, that's when you got to get everything clear on.
Maybe that's my problem in life. I'm like, oh, it's a C is
good. We got to get everything clear on what exactly the parameters are.
803.
But I do think that's a conversation worth having. Again, there'll be plenty of time to autopsy the season, the tenure, whatever we want to do. But the point is, after this last season, after this last weekend, we are here having this conversation.
803-404-6100. I'll get to some of these text messages. We'll get to the phone lines as well. You're listening to Bill Gunner, Preston Thorne, Jen Jensen. It's the early game.
Hey, it's Jen for CHW Cabinetry in Lexington, loving our new kitchen, I must say. But we weren't really thrilled about what we had to do or what happened to get there. The flood that we had that totally wiped out the kitchen, had to take it down to the studs. That was not fun, but I'll tell you what, CHW Cabinetry in Lexington made it so much easier. They helped us get the design figured out, showed us some new accessories that are available, and once we got everything pulled together, then they gave us that photorealistic rendering, which helped us pick out all the other elements that we needed to complete the kitchen. But kitchens, that's not all they do. If you have a closet that maybe needs more functionality, or even in your kitchen, just your pantry that needs some extra help. If you're starting a business or working from home, need a better workspace, they can help you with that as well. Any kind of updates, reach out to them. You can visit chwcabinetry.com or call them today at 803-520-6837. And of course, be sure to tell them Jen Jensen sent you. CHW Cabinetry, passion from inspiration to installation. I-26 westbound at Old Sandy Run Road, exit 125. There is an accident. They've been working there. You'll also find one 277 northbound at Parkland Road. And the forecast, boy, mid to upper 80s this week, sunshine through Thursday. So we welcome that. 83 today, 86 tomorrow, 88, and then up to 90 by Thursday. So that's kind of nice. We need to dry out some of that rain, right? I don't know about your yard, but man, mine's just kind of slogging right now. But enough about that. The sun is up and it's a little bit breezy. 60 on the early game.
Shout out to Saxagatha Elementary, field day for them. You remember field days? Y'all remember field days?
Ooh.
Ran into a woman yesterday, was up at LJ's getting lunch from Illinois.
Stop it.
I actually had to ask her if she was, I'm not being funny, if she was related to you, if she was in town.
Oh, okay.
And you know what conversation that brought about? Oh, I showed my knowledge. This is where this program comes in quite handy. I said, do you know the mascot of Hoop? She knew who Hoopston or where Hoopston was.
Did she really know where Hoopston is? Oh, my gosh.
She knew exactly. She was not far from there. She was like an hour south of Chicago.
Well, that's where I live.
She had to be right around you. I almost texted you. I should have, but
yeah, that's so cool.
Didn't want to harass you.
You'll harass me on other things, but not something that might be important to me. Okay, go ahead.
But couldn't help it. Had to ask. I was like, do you know the mascot of Hoopston? She did not.
Wow, bless her.
Here you go.
There's nothing like sitting around the bar at 1 o'clock on a Sunday debating the corn jerkers.
Mm-hmm. The fighting corn jerkers.
There's a lot of really, like I said, there's a lot of really good mascots in them. I'm sure all around, but yeah, we have some fun ones in the Midwest.
Yeah, she was very familiar. There's a lot of things I brought up that were related to you.
That's so cool.
Yep, was up there hitting golf balls.
Was she excited about the Indy 500? Oh my gosh, what a weekend of qualifying!
Yeah, we'll get to that. I'll let you break that a little bit down. Did Kyle Larson race last night? I didn't.
He did.
He did?
He actually, I think, came in 5th.
Okay.
So, yep,
all right.
We can talk about that.
We'll get into that a little bit. 803-404-6100. You guys got field day memories? That was a huge day in elementary school.
Big day. Big time day. Yeah, field day was tremendous all the way through probably middle school. Always, obviously, maybe not obviously, but always anchor on the tug of war. That was my spot. You already knew it. You already know I was going to be the anchor. So we're going to hold that down. We're going to try and win the tug of war, 3-legged race, egg toss. Yeah. Good times, man. Softball throw. Shout out to Rodney West. You beat me in 6th and 7th grade.
In the what?
So it was like a throw toss. Just see how far you could throw a ball.
Oh, okay.
He would beat me all the time.
There is what you just said, all of us, 803-404-6100, send in your field day memory because there's a loss somewhere in there or a win that we all carry with us through life.
Rodney got me in 6th and 7th grade. He ended up being very good, played varsity baseball, whatever. My guy. But he beat me in 6th and 7th grade.
803-404-6100. Send in your field day memory. And again, shout out to this is a texter coming in. Shout out to Saxagatha Elementary. Their field day is today.
Big time day. Glad to see the field day tradition is still going.
Yeah. It's field day was a huge day. That's from Robin. That's from our teacher, Robin. 803-404-6100. Let's get out to the phone lines here. Ernest wants to weigh in on Mark Kingston. How you doing this morning, Ernest? What's on your mind?
Hey, Jay. Hey, Preston. I said it 3 series ago. The pitching coach has to go. Well, now we stepping up. Kingston has to go. You don't know who your starting rotation is going in the SEC series. You want to play Johnny Holstaff? I'm like Gamecock Larry. But guess what? Kingston couldn't even know who a starting rotation would be in coach's pitch. That's how bad it's got. Because you know, as I know, in coach's pitch, you only have one pitcher, and he wouldn't even know who that would be. He's got to go. This has got to change. I'm a season ticket, but after this season, I don't know. I mean, we had a number one pitching decommit. He sees what's going on. The fans see what's going on. Ray Tanner doesn't see this. Come on, we got to make a change.
All right. Thank you for the phone call, Ernest. Excitable. Look, they'll play a game tomorrow. If they win, I believe they go to the double elimination round. At that point, I don't know. I have no idea. There's so many different variables, but there's so many different people talking. I don't know where they're at in terms of the NCAA tournament. 13-17 is not good. I know that. And Texter weighs in, by the way, and says 83 wins, 96 losses is below average, 13 games below average. That's from Steve. Thank you, Steve, for the text message. I get it.
So here's the deal. South Carolina, Vandy, LSU, Alabama, and UF all have 13 wins and a top 30 RPI.
Oof, it's a lot.
So the criteria that Coach Kingston has been touting as something that's basically a sure lock for getting in the tournament. Well, South Carolina's not the only team with that. To repeat, South Carolina, Vandy, LSU, Alabama, and Florida all have that same criteria. Everybody's not going to make it. Tomorrow's game is essentially a loser leaves town match.
Oh.
To go back to wrestling.
Yeah.
Loser leaves town.
All right.
Loser leaves town. You win, you're in. You lose, it might be leaving town.
I'm not even sure you're in, but you at least advance.
You get a chance.
Yeah.
Right. You get a chance. So that's sort of where they stand as far as how that's going to end up working out. But the South Carolina Alabama game is very, as we said, biggest game in the galaxy of baseball. So it'll be important. And as I said, everybody can have every right you feel. The season's going to end maybe sooner than later. And I think there'll be plenty of time to autopsy that. What's interesting about what Ernest said is we go back to the pitching, how the pitching has been handled all year, and particularly this series. We talked about when do you put all your cards on the table and try to win a game. And there was a couple opportunities throughout this series where they could have brought in their best pitcher, their best reliever to lock down or finish a series, and they chose not to, and it backfired on them. Then there was another opportunity where they left Chris Gainey in on Friday for too long, let him go back through the order. Tennessee gets to him. Very valid questions on how the pitching has been handled throughout the season, and it came back this past weekend.
803-404-6100 if you want to weigh in on that. Russell goes with Field Day, 1996. You wanted your ribbons. Field Day, 2024. No more ribbons. Come on, guys.
That sounds unfortunately about right.
And then Field Day at Pleasant Hill Elementary. Good luck to Pleasant Hill Elementary. William weighs in with bag lunch with brown bananas. It's good.
Big day.
And Zach weighs in this one. Says the best thing on my resume is the 1996 Midway Elementary Tug of War champion, first grade division.
My guy.
There you go.
See, the tug of war is interesting because, again, like I said, I was always the anchor, so I never had the view from the front. But you got to have a really strong person on the front, too, because if it gets close to that line, you got to be able to dig in.
That's true.
You got to be able to dig in.
Got to have someone with some legs in there.
You need some legs up front. So everybody talks about the anchor. The anchor's important, but you need somebody up front to really be able to dig in.
Field Day memories and baseball. 803-404-6100. We'll also talk a little bit about Marcus Lattimore when we come back. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen. It's the early game. 803-404-6100. Let's get out to the phone lines. Mike wants to weigh in this morning. Mike, what's on your mind? How you doing?
Well, I want to talk about Gamecock Baseball, and y'all, I know that's a lot to talk about right now. But y'all, we shouldn't have to be sneaking into the tournament or worry about sneaking into the tournament just about every year, which is what seemingly we've had to do under Kingston, y'all. I mean, last year we were a we were a host, and we didn't really have to worry about that. But if we get in this year, we're gonna have to, get in by the skin of our teeth, and y'all. Yeah, I told him last week, it's not okay in South Carolina baseball to do that. We shouldn't have to deal with that every year. Kingston had a chance to follow it up and, build and be stronger this year. And just, regardless if we get in or not this year, that's not going to happen, y'all. I mean, he follows up a sweep last week with another sweep this week. I mean, I don't know if the guy has an issue hiring assistant coaches or whatever, because it doesn't seem like whoever we have, as an assistant coach is helping him that much. We bring in Matt Williams, we still got pitching issues. We still can't hit consistently. I mean, this weekend was just another example of that.
Yeah, I mean, that's understated. The batting average for this last weekend was a whopping 198. So that's an understatement to say that we can't hit consistently. 200 is poor. They were under 200. So, yes, that is
like an F
correct.
minus?
We're getting very close to there, yes.
It is the end of school. Grades are important at this point,
Yes.
Point in time. So it is a good morning to do some grades. But, yeah, I mean, look, nobody's saying that this is acceptable. Nobody's saying it's good. I do think a question has to be had is, do we realize that Ray Tanner, the run of Ray Tanner, may not ever be accomplished again? I remember saying it back then that South Carolina fans didn't understand what was happening not because of greatness, but because of consistency. The fact that South Carolina didn't miss a postseason, I think it was starting in 99. It was either 2099. I have to go back and look at my notes. But that they didn't miss, like, you had LSU, just like LSU. LSU wins the national championship this year. They're down. And under Ray Tanner, there was never any down years. There were no down years. South Carolina baseball under Ray Tanner was an absolute consistent machine of competing in the SEC and competing for College World Series appearances. But that hasn't always been the case. Ray Tanner was a step above everybody else. He is one of the greatest college baseball coaches to ever coach the game. And I get it. You should want that. Good Lord, we should want that. We should want football to be something like that, basketball to be something like that. But the truth is I can't say that South Carolina will ever be back to that level of baseball that we experienced under Ray Tanner.
Yeah, I don't know. That's something to be told. But what I would say is I don't think many people – I don't know how many people are saying that they want 3 World Series appearances, 2 championships. I think what they are saying is the idea of, as I've stated in football, do you come to the park every weekend feeling like your team has a chance to win? And I don't know if that's the feeling right now as you watch this team. As you watch this series go out throughout this past weekend against Tennessee, who is number 1 in the SEC, and yes, it's SEC ball. I get all of that. I don't know if anybody who actually watched that series felt as if this team had a chance while this series was happening. This
was the first weekend, and I tried to kind of skirt around it a little bit on Wednesday and Thursday. But this was the first series. This was the first time I've ever looked at a series and been like, I don't see it. And there's something. I still contend, and I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just the way they lost to Georgia. But there was something after that Georgia series that I feel like this team was done. Like, done. Like, Preston, I don't know. Again, you've played college sports. You've been in that atmosphere and that realm, and you understand it better than I do. But when a team is just done, and it's just like, I think you said it last week, all right, let's get out of here. That's it. Let's pack it up. We'll come back next year, and we'll try it all again. It feels like that's the attitude of this team right now. I don't know how to put my finger on it, but after that Georgia series, it just feels like everybody checked out.
It goes back to confidence, in whether you have true confidence or whether or not you're trying to fake your way through it. So they were up 3-0 at one point on Friday night, I believe, and everybody's up 3-0. Yeah, let's go. Tennessee, as the number one team in the country, will score some runs, and then you could just see them just get deflated, almost on their like, oh, here we go again type of idea. And that's not what real confidence is. Real confidence would say we're going to stay in here, we're going to compete, and we're going to try and do our best to try and win this game. It didn't feel like that. And that's what you would look for in these types of games. We know the SEC is tough. We know there's going to be games that go back and forth. We know that you're going to drop games. Everybody understands that. And so I don't think anybody wants to have that explained to them over and over again, to be told, oh, this, it's Friday night in the SEC, or, the SEC is really tough. We got that. We know that. But we also want to be included in that part of the teams who are considered part of the SEC being tough. And right now we're not there.
And that's going to be what the next issue is, and that's going to be the discussion as we go into the tournament and then into the offseason. Texter weighs in and says, no, Bill, we don't accept it. We need to find a coach to bring it back to where it was. And I'll be quite honest, I don't know if you're going to find that coach. That's kind of my point. I don't know if you're going to find that coach. And that may not happen. And that doesn't mean you can't want it. And it doesn't mean you have to accept this. I'm not telling anybody to accept this, Preston or Jen. But I'm also saying that what Ray Tanner did, maybe this makes you more appreciative of the consistency with which he did it and at the high level he did it. Because I'm not quite sure South Carolina baseball will go back to that. And maybe I'm just beaten down on a Monday morning.
I mean, maybe you might be saying the truth. I don't know. But there are other teams very locally who had a tradition, felt the tradition was slipping, went out and made a move, and they're back doing well again.
Well, I mean, South Carolina was up into inside the top 5 last year too, and then fell off, I know, but you're right. 803-404-6100. We'll talk with Jamie Bradford a little bit about it. We'll get into that. Do want to get to this Marcus Lattimore thing as well. A lot to do this morning. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, she's Jen Jensen, the early game. Bill Gunner for Love Chevrolet. I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park. The Springtacular Sale, spring's almost over, but the Springtacular Sale rolls along where the deals are in full bloom. And you need to go and check out the 14 acres of brand new Chevys from which you can choose from. And, of course, the $1,000 low price guarantee, which means you're going to get the absolute largest selection of vehicles anywhere in the Midlands to go along with the absolute best deal. So whatever you're looking for, a Tahoe, a Trailblazer, a Suburban, or one of those incredible Silverados at Love Chevrolet, you can get behind the wheel, feel the possibilities, the new adventures, the new roads, and the new destinations, all by going and taking a test drive today. Visit Love Chevrolet, I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park, or you can visit them on the web, lovechevy.com. Get out to Love Chevrolet, and together, let's drive.
Still working an earlier tie-up, 277 northbound at Park Lane Road. And I-26 westbound, exit 125. That is Old Sandy Run Road. They're still working that earlier slowdown. We're looking for a high of 83 today, and actually sunny conditions through Thursday, and topping out at about 90 on Thursday as well, before looks like possibly some weekend thunderstorms rolling in. But right now, pretty decent, a little bit of a breeze. It's 60 on the early game.
Up and at 'em. Up and at 'em. As we roll along, I'm actually texting with my kids as we're doing the show, telling them 2 full days of school left and then 2 half days. As we have all kinds of countdowns going on, all kinds of countdowns. What do we got again here?
Whew. Deep breath. Okay, here we go. Ready? 3 days until 100 days.
3 days until 100 days of football.
That's the top countdown. That's the biggest countdown.
Okay.
Then we have 102 days until the Southern 500. It's 60 days until Jen's birthday on July 19th.
All right, hold on. I think the Southern 500 should be 104 days. It's got to be one more day than.
My fault, yes. 104 days. Sorry.
104 days. Yeah, we got to get this or not.
We're going
to be official for the next.
Yep. Okay. Then we have Jen's birthday, which is 60 days from now, which is on July 19th.
Keep in mind, I'm not the one counting that down.
Correct.
So just so you all know.
You're part of the show.
Us.
You're counting it down.
That's just us.
Okay.
Originally, July 19th was for the release of college football. However, there's been a premium date in which you can order the premium edition, which you get 3 days earlier, and that would be on July 16th.
That's right.
That's correct. Okay, it's 8 days until National Brisket Day and 25 days until Bourbon Day.
Jamie Bradford, you just heard all that. Which one of those are you most excited about? I'm sure if I eliminated Jen's birthday, which I know you're probably most excited about just because you get to speak with Jen prior to speaking with us, there's all those countdowns. Brisket Day, Bourbon Day, College Football Release Day for EA Sports, College Football Day, Southern 500. You got a selection there. Which one excites you the most right now?
That's not a very difficult question. It's college football's opening day. The rest of those, whatever. I mean,
oh, wow.
I like the Southern 500 and I like bourbon and I like brisket, but does anybody really like all that more than the first day of college football?
Yeah, I got to admit, I'm more excited about the release of the college football game than I am about the college football opening day right now. I got to admit, it's there. It's there in front of us. Welcome in. Hope you're doing well this morning. Hope it was a fun sports weekend aside from baseball, because unfortunately, that's what you're going to be asked to talk about here for a few minutes is this baseball team and just where it's going right now. What is your? Let's just ask you your opinion. What do you take?
Yeah, it's I mentioned this last week that if there's a chance that if they went to Knoxville and got swept, that the postseason that they can miss the postseason, and that chance is still very much there, and so they're going to have to go to Hoover and play really well. I mean, the good news for them is that they didn't move an inch in the RPI, and that matters. There are 13 and 17 league teams that have qualified, like the record 13 and 17 in the SEC, that have qualified over the years. The bad news is, look around and look at what you're up against, and then you have to pay attention to, like within your own league, and then you have to pay attention to the rest of the country and the Steelers and things like that. I mean, Alabama is 13 and 17 in the SEC, and they're number 18 in the RPI, and the Tide took 2 of 3 from the Gamecocks, and they have 4 more quad 1 wins than South Carolina's got. Florida is 2 games above 500, and they're 13 and 17. Carolina took 2 of 3 from them, but the Gators have 13 quad 1 wins, and South Carolina's only got 9 because Vanderbilt is just outside the top 25, or else they'd have 12. Vanderbilt has got 10 quad 1 wins. They're 13 and 17 in the SEC, 35 and 20 overall. LSU is on fire. Now, they've only got 7 quad 1 wins, and they're 13 and 17 in the league, but they've finished the year on a good note. South Carolina's been on a poor note. So there's still a lot to be decided, and, we'll see what happens. But it would have they really needed a game up there in Knoxville, and they just couldn't get one. But had they won one, I'd be saying they're going to the postseason. We don't know where they're going, but they're absolutely going. But right now, that is still a little iffy.
A lot of people talking about kind of what has happened to this pitching staff, whether, Matt Williams or it just what has happened on the show. What is your take on the pitching staff? And right now, what seems to be a lack of understanding of what to do with the pitching staff almost, Jamie, like not knowing who your starters are, not knowing at this point in the season what the roles are and so forth and so on.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to – I'm not going to avoid the question, don't get me wrong, but it is kind of hard to be accurate on a question like this unless you're in the locker room and on staff and kind of understand like what the thought was. I mean, coming into the year, you felt like you had enough guys to start on the weekend. Now, how many aces did you have? I don't know if they felt like they had a true dude like that. But to be fair, there's not a lot of just absolute Friday night dudes right now in the SEC. There's a lot of incredible arms. This is the Southeastern Conference. There's always going to be that. But, Arkansas, Tennessee's kind of doing it a little backwards, but Beam goes in game 2 for them, and he's kind of a Friday night. He is a Friday night guy. So there are teams that have like those elite arms. I wouldn't say that South Carolina at this point – I'm not saying somebody doesn't have the stuff. That's not what I'm getting at. But there's more than just having stuff to being an elite arm. So you take all that information with the fact that the Saturday and Sunday roles couldn't really get themselves solidified, so they felt like they needed to kind of change some things around, and they moved Eli Jones out of that Friday night role and into a Saturday role. And that was kind of if my memory is correct, that was kind of a point where some things started to shift here, and guys were uncomfortable in certain roles that they were placed in, or at least they felt that way, and things just weren't going well. But, with all that said, and Preston, you'll understand what I'm saying here, playing for 4 years at the collegiate level, you've also got to just go perform. Like, no matter what your role is, what role you're putting, you might not like it, but what name's on the front of the jersey? Like, you need to go perform. And some of these guys are very capable of being more than what they've been. I'm not trying to be critical of them. They know that. Like, this is something that if they don't, then, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I'm trying to tell you you're a good player, and you haven't been playing like one. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of things. I mean, the season kind of resets now, and so hopefully the mindset will reset as well. I mean, this team is very capable of winning a bunch of games in the postseason. We know that. It's just a matter of whether they can get it together and go do it.
So the idea of a reset, what do you think needs to happen in order for them to have a reset moving into the postseason?
As far as you talking about just the pitching staff or the team, or what do you mean?
We can start with the pitching.
Well, they play tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
that makes life kind of difficult, right? You know, I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know who he pitched tomorrow. I mean, everybody's pitched over the weekend, so this is probably going to be. They'll probably have to treat this like a normal midweek game, you know, where you prepare to see a bunch of arms against a team that's going to have a distinct advantage when it comes to the crowd. I mean, it's Alabama and Hoover. The place is going to be packed with Tide fans. So I don't know how to answer the question. I really don't. I know the question you're asking, but I don't know what you do there. And, you know, outside of that, as far as the rest of the team goes, and they got home Saturday night, you know, I would advise them to not think about one thing that's happened up to this point. And the season starts on Tuesday, and let's get hot and go play ball. I mean, that's all you can do. I mean, you just have to hope they go out there and play well.
803-404-6100 if you want to text in this morning. Preston labeled it a loser leaves town match. I kind of like that, actually, in terms of the old wrestling analogies, because of all those metrics, all those numbers that you just gave, Jamie, in terms of your conference record, your RPI, your strength of schedule, so forth, so on. And is that what this game is? Like, if they lose this game, is it essentially an elimination game for the postseason, you think? Or are they still kind of holding on to hope if they do lose?
I mean, it seems likely that whoever loses this game is going to have a significant disadvantage to getting into the postseason. But again, it is still – I mean, I can't remember – I know it's 7-10, so I'll be short. I can't remember the last time there was as much fluidity for at-large teams as there is right now, not just in the SEC, but across college baseball. I mean, look at the Coastal, guys. Look at Chad Holbrook's College of Charleston Cougars. They finished 25-3. That's 39-12. They are very deserving of an at-large, very deserving of an at-large. But there's a chance if they don't win the Coastal tournament championship this week that they don't get in. But if you get enough committee members that believe that they deserve to be and they don't win the tournament and the Coastal gets two teams in, that's a bid. That's a stolen bid from somewhere. Does it come out of the SEC? I don't know. But there's just so much fluidity. You can make the argument right now, is this about the 64 best teams? Well, then South Carolina should be in there. Well, of course they should be. They would be in there if it was the top 20 best teams in the country. They're on a slide. It doesn't mean they're worse than that. Like, they are one of the 20 best teams in the country when it comes to their roster and what they're capable of doing. But that's not how the tournament is formulated and how it's made. So I would say if you lose, there is a significant dent to your postseason chances at that point in time, and you'll have to see how the rest plays out around the nation throughout the week.
We will continue talking about this. It's a lot to get into this morning. Obviously, we'll get into some football stuff as well. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jamie Bradford joining us as he does each and every Monday. It is the early game. Oh, so much going on right now. A lot to celebrate this month. Graduations, end of school years, start of summers. You get the point. There's a lot going on, and you want to do it in a clean home. So right now is the time to call the cleaning pros at Zerorez Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning. Their patented technology, ZR Water, scientifically proven to clean better than detergents and does not leave behind a sticky, soapy residue. So go ahead, make that phone call today and line up your on-cleaning, 803-262-4020. Again, it's 803-262-4020. Mention me, Bill Gunner, at 107.5 The Game, and get 3 rooms of carpet clean for only $129. You can also book online, ZerezColumbia.com. Again, get 3 rooms of carpet clean for only $129 when you mention me, Bill Gunner, at 1075 The Game. 803-262-4020. Zerez, spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean.
And taking a look at the highways this morning as far as your traffic conditions are concerned, and earlier accidents have been cleared except one, and that is 277 northbound at Park Lane Road. 83 for the high today. We keep that sunshine through Thursday and stay in the mid to upper 80s, actually potentially hitting 90 on Thursday. So that's pretty nice. Then we start seeing the chances for rain and thunderstorms rolling in on Friday and kind of carrying through the weekend and the start of the next week. But right now we're going to focus on the sunny conditions for sure. Sun is out, just a little bit of a breeze. Very nice this morning. It's 60 on the early game.
7:18 on a Monday morning. Bill Gunner, Preston Thorne, Jamie Bradford joining us as he does, and we'll talk a little more baseball, then we'll get into some football, but obviously coming off of the second consecutive sweep for the Gamecocks. They have now lost 7 of their last 10, 6 straight, dating back over a week ago. And Jamie, I mean, that's the thing right now with this team is we go from the Missouri series and maybe if you want to even back it up further, the Kentucky series, to feeling really good about this baseball team to now. I mean, there's just so many questions about the pitching. Obviously, there's a lot of questions about coaching. There's just so many questions about this program. And I've kind of asked you this, but what do you think is it just a matter? Is it just as simple as South Carolina's run into two really good baseball teams and the Gamecocks aren't as good as Georgia and Tennessee? Is it just that flat out simple?
Well, I mean, it could be. I mean, you know, had they played Auburn this past weekend and swept them at home, you'd be feeling a lot different going into the tournament, right? You'd be 36-18 and 16-14 in the league, and everybody'd be happy, and they'd be either hosting a regional or you know, as a high 2 seed. There'd be no question about getting into the postseason or anything like that. So obviously, the competition you play can dictate the results, and the results can dictate the feel around the program. And you know, but I mean, look, in times like these, and again, I'm not a philosopher.
Could be.
I don't think, you know, but this really comes down to leadership. Like, what type of leadership do you have in your locker room? And are they stepping up and stepping in and kind of grabbing the bull by the horns, you know, getting the reins to this sleigh and saying, hey, look, we're not going to let this happen, okay? There's seniors in here who are never going to play baseball again. This group is never going to play together again. It's time for us to do what we're capable of doing. We've had a couple of weeks, but there's nothing we can do about it. But we can start doing something about it tomorrow. You know, and as far as, you know, the program itself and the fans and how they feel about things and, you know, whatever that may be, you know, just think about the players, man. You know, pull for the players. Regardless of what you think and feel about this, that, and the other. Like, I know all those conversations. I hear them every day. Think about the players. There's a lot of kids in there who don't get to put the uniform on again, right, Preston? And we know that they get to do it one more time on Tuesday at least. And, look, right now I'd say the chances are better that they do play in the postseason than not. There's a chance that they don't, but the chances are better that they do at this point in time. But because it is it's a very fine line at this point in time, pull for the players. Hope they get hot. Ole Miss got hot and won the national championship a couple years ago. And are they capable of that? I don't know. I'm not saying that. But I'd like to see this group get a nice run in them, and maybe they'll start doing that tomorrow over in Hoover, Alabama.
Yeah, I agree with that sentiment. I agree with that sentiment totally, and that's why I've been sort of banging the drum of there'll be a time to have other conversations and autopsy the season when it's over, but the season's not over, and until then, they have to try and figure out a way that they can weasel their way and start warming up and start getting hot. My question is, do they need – we know for the standings that they need to win, but more so for their mentality, how important do you think a win or a positive showing is for the rest of the season for the team?
You talking about winning tomorrow?
Yes.
Yeah, vitally important. Yeah, it's huge. I mean, they gotta. That would be enormous. Because number one, you'd be knocking off the home team, Alabama, and number two, you'd just be getting back into winning baseball games, which, you know, now they haven't done in 13 days since they beat Winthrop. So at that point in time, it'd be 2 weeks. They'd be 2 weeks removed from that win, and then they get a crack at second seed at Arkansas on Wednesday, and you would not be seeing Hagen Smith in that game. So, you know, there's a lot of good that can happen here if they can go get a win tomorrow night or tomorrow afternoon. I think they can. It's a 1:00 first pitch. It's a 1:00 first pitch tomorrow, and you're not playing at night against Alabama over in Hoover. You're playing in the middle of the afternoon. So, 2 o'clock our time, 1 o'clock their time. A lot of good things can happen, and if they get a win tomorrow, that's gonna change a lot of feelings in a hurry.
803-404-6100. Let me ask you this, and we're going to move into football in the next segment. But big picture, not tomorrow and not this particular postseason. Where is this program in terms of talent, in your opinion, and being able to get back to being a College World Series competitor? Like, what has to happen in this offseason? I'm not talking about coaching changes or anything like that, but when you look at this baseball team, and we've seen what's happened with the pitching over the last probably 4 weeks, where is this program, and what needs to happen in terms of whether it's recruiting the transfer portal or whatever it may be, in your opinion, for this program to take a step back to where it used to be?
Yeah, I mean, they've got a lot of transfers. Let's remember that. I mean, there's a lot of guys on this team that have transferred into the program. They are recruiting very well. I mean, Monty Lee and Matt Williams and Joey Holcomb, they're outstanding recruiters, and nobody's going to out-recruit Monty Lee and Matt Williams in the state of South Carolina. It ain't happening, okay? And that was a problem around here for a while. That problem has, for the most part been solved. These guys are elite. They're fantastic human beings. They're loved by every high school coach and every travel coach and everything else that's out there. Matt and Monty are just awesome in this state. So they're signing guys. But, you've got to – your best players have to get better. And I think that that's something that has been a little, at times, strange. They've got some really, really good players on this team who I don't want to say they haven't gotten better. I mean, they've definitely gotten better. I mean, look at Cole Messina. He's an All-American catcher. But, offensively, I feel like I don't think he took the jump I think we thought he would. He's very capable. What a kid. One of the best catchers ever here. So, there's some players here who, especially on the pitching staff, really good young talent that just needs to continue to improve. Like Jake McCoy, if you told me Jake McCoy didn't have a shot at being in the rotation next year, I would say you probably never watched one pitch of any baseball game in your entire life. I mean, Jake McCoy is a guy who's most likely going to be in the starting rotation next year. Tyler Pitcher, they've got some really good young players on this team. And yeah, they are going to have to go back to the portal and go put some new faces into new places and things like that. But I still maintain in baseball, if you want to be really, really good, you need to be as homegrown as you can be. Like plugging and playing every year in college baseball, you can buy as many players as you want. Talk about NIL all day long till you fall asleep. I don't care. If you can't recruit and develop players in baseball, you cannot win. And LSU went out and bought an entire new lineup again this year, basically. And look where they are, right? There's a guy who played shortstop here over there who claimed it was the best roster he'd ever seen, and yada, yada, yada. They're in the same boat South Carolina's in. So this is a really talented team that the Gamecocks have, but it takes some time for talent to come together. 56 games, you'd think that's a lot. It's really not that much in college baseball. So they got to continue to develop and recruit like they're doing. And then and these guys that they've got are, they just have to keep getting better. And I don't think they're that far off. I don't think they're as far off as people think they are. Like they've won 33 games. Had they won 30, you're talking about 5 games, right? Had you won 38 games this year, it's like, oh man, the return to glory. Here we are. We're going over the 40-win mark, and yada yada yada. I mean, they're 5 to 7 games every year. If it goes in a different direction, then everything is fantastic. So they're not that far off. But it's frustrating to see a program that has as much history as this program has, not be able to be in that top 4 or 5 teams every year that's competing to be the champion of the league or the face of the league or whatever it is. Like, you certainly want to recapture that, and they're very, very, very capable of doing that.
803-404-6100. That's how you can weigh in if you want to send in a text. A couple of y'all weighing at Marshall, DJ Allen. I'll try and get to those. But we'll talk a little football. Preston's got some Marcus Lattimore discussion.
Well, he's going to be inducted into the South Carolina Hall of Fame, and I just wanted to take a second to appreciate him and appreciate his contributions to our program.
We can do that's a positive. That's a positive. We'll go with a positive. How's that, Jamie
Bradford?
He's not
going to be here, though. Yeah.
Well,
wish he was going to be here.
Well, we'll get into that. We'll let you two debate that. We'll get in. We'll be positive this morning. We'll also talk some PGA Championship. Preston asked a question earlier that I'll be interested to hear your answer on as it pertains to was the course too easy this weekend? We'll get into that. A lot to do this morning. You're listening to Bill Gunner, Preston Thorne. He's Jamie Bradford. It's the early game.
Are you tired of living with chronic pain, knee pain, joint pain? Well, listen carefully because now there are new regenerative treatments available here. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative medicine and is now open giving lasting relief to people with joint pain with no surgery, no drugs, and no downtime. QC Kinetics has over 100 clinics nationwide and has treated thousands of patients with incredible success. Their advanced protocols are an exciting way to manage pain from arthritis and injury without surgery or steroids or pain pills. So if you got pain in your knees, shoulders, hip, or back, you need to check out these new treatments, and they can actually help your body to restore and repair itself. So call now to reschedule your treatment with QC Kinetics. The number is 803-281-6860. 803-281-6860. Again, that's 803-281-6860.
Just one accident to let you know about, and that's Percival Road at I-77. So for the most part, Monday morning is looking pretty decent out on the highways, and weather-wise, also looking decent. Sunny really today through about Thursday. Temperatures on the increase each day. 83 today. Then we get to about 86 on Tuesday, 88 and 90 for Wednesday and Thursday. Then the chances for rain come in for Memorial Day weekend. Let's hope that it doesn't look like a complete washout, but there are chances to see some weather conditions. But right now, it's nice. It is sunny, it is breezy, and it's 61 on the early game.
Welcome back into the early game. Preston Thorne, Jed Jensen, Bill Gunner, Jamie Bradford on the phone lines, as he always is, joining us on Monday. I'm Preston Thorne. So we've been having a lot of conversation about baseball, which has made us not feel so great. Yeah, it's not been great. But there's always reasons to celebrate, and one of our greatest Gamecocks is being honored in the South Carolina Hall of Fame here coming up very shortly. Marcus Lattimore will be inducted into the South Carolina Hall of Fame along with others. Shout out to Tyler Thigpen, also being inducted. Somebody we hopefully can maybe have come in and speak about it, because I'm really interested in hearing about his journey. But wanted to kind of get there and kind of talk about Marcus Lattimore. And there's nothing better to do this than maybe to bring you up, because there's nothing better than nostalgia to bring you back to the years of yore. So let's get this clip, and then we can talk about our guy Marcus.
This has easily been the best 3 years of my life. And, with that being said, I'm going to, forego my senior season and into the 2013 NFL Draft.
It off to Marcus Lattimore across midfield, breaks a tackle, he's in the open, Lattimore to the end zone, touchdown South Carolina. Lattimore breaks that first tackle, breaks free, Marcus cuts it back. Lattimore broken the tackle, 2 tackles, 3 tackles, still on his feet, and he's headed to the end zone, touchdown South Carolina, 21 more for number 21.
It's like sherbet, palate cleanser. Everybody should be driving around, palate cleanse, just a nice fresh thing of water. Everybody should be feeling a little bit better now.
Yeah, no, I feel like we were all like, why can't we have those days back? Unfortunately, it fits. Jamie, I mean, Marcus Lattimore, I obviously didn't know you during that time. I obviously was not doing radio with you or anything. I was doing it for another station here in Columbia, but I mean, those days, and what Marcus Lattimore did. I think Marcus Lattimore, Jadeveon Clowney was great. Stephon Gilmore was great. You can go back to Derek Watson back in 2000, but Marcus Lattimore's decision to come to South Carolina, I think, was the one that changed kind of the opinion of South Carolina nationally, and then not only that, the way he lived up to the hype. We talk about guys living up to the hype. Marcus Lattimore more than lived up to the hype.
Yep, no doubt. It was. I remember everything about his recruitment when he signed, what he did. I mean, I was just talking to Steven, was it last week, maybe last week or the week before, and talking about his impact in that winning the East in 2010, and Steven was like, it was as good as everybody always wants to talk about how I played in the Alabama game, this and the other, which should be talked about. None of that even comes close to coming to fruition that year without Marcus Lattimore. And you're right. Outside of that, it raised the profile of the University of South Carolina. He was just, when he was here, he not only was the best running back we had seen since George Rogers, he was a class act and represented this university incredibly well, made it cool to want to play at South Carolina, made people take notice around the country, and we'll forever be indebted to what he gave South Carolina and its fans.
803-404-6100. If you've got a favorite Marcus Lattimore memory, I got to admit, you go back to, I'll never forget, by the way, tailgating before the Southern Mississippi game and word coming down that Lattimore might not be able to play. If you remember that, there was questions about. Yeah, you remember that? There was questions.
Yep.
From what I understood, it was him and a few other players, and they had to take them over to around the Eddie Floyd building and keep them away from the team because there wasn't sure. There was eligibility questions, and it was that Thursday night, and there was questions about whether or not he could play due to some stupid NCAA rules. Something like he had accepted a French fry at McDonald's from a booth. Something really dumb, like really, really beyond dumb. And then all of a sudden, I'll never forget getting word from JC, like, oh, he can play. JC Sherbert, like, we were texting. He's like, oh yeah, they're good. But it was the next week that he burst on the scene against Georgia with all those broken tackles and all those carries and all those yards and really sent South Carolina's program. That would be the memory for me. Those back-to-back weekends of like, oh, can he play? I don't know if he can play. He might not be eligible. Well, maybe he is. He is eligible. And then South Carolina running over Southern Mississippi.
Yeah, I mean, just the idea for me, being that I was very heavily involved in high school football at the time, hearing the boogeyman that was Marcus Lattimore, that was just running rampant around the state and basically setting up with Bobby Bentley and Burns and obviously Jake coming a little bit later. But that whole thing that was set up and spurred by this kid named Marcus Lattimore, and the coolness of the time was there wasn't as much exposure. So you just hear about Marcus Lattimore. And I remember the game coming and watching them, I believe it was 2005, the first time they played at Williams-Bryson when they used to play the state championships over here, and watching this dude and saying, oh, that is something that is totally, totally different than everything that's gone. So, yeah, and I think part of the appeal, obviously, he has this tremendous story that we can all identify, obviously, with the injuries being a part of his tremendous story to come back. But also, I always bang the drum, and as Jamie said, the idea of him being from here, being our guy. If he was great, but he came from somewhere else, that would be one thing. But because he's from here, because he's from South Carolina, I think that's what makes his impact and his story such a great story in the state of South Carolina.
Jamie, I mean, again, even with JC now, you can go back and get the stories of the recruit. I'll never forget the day. And, y'all both know how this is, fan, short for fanatical, that Lattimore went on a visit to Auburn and came back and essentially named them his leader. And people about lost their mind. And I had to call Marcus. That was back when I worked for the Big Spur. And I'll never forget standing in my garage saying, look, I said, I'm going to record this interview. And I'm not going to write an article. It's going to be my question, and it's going to be your answer. That's all it is. It's verbatim. And you're right. He was absolutely one of the best at, like, giving interviews and being dead honest about the situation. And I'll never forget him saying, well, they got a good plan for me after, and he's gone on to do some really nice things after his career, Jamie.
Yeah, exactly. He, you're right about it being our guy, too. That was the thing, being from the state of South Carolina and being as talented as he was as a football player. And just as a person, I mean, Marcus Lattimore is a really nice person, and I know he's out living on the West Coast now and kind of doing some things that none of us probably saw coming. Maybe Marcus did. It's his life. He can live his life the way he wants to live it, and as long as he's happy, that's all I really care about. So he's kind of gone a different direction. I'll be honest with you, 2024, when he left for the draft, I thought, this guy probably is going to be one of those running backs. I mean, I'm sorry, let me back up. Before he got hurt, knowing that the draft was coming up before he got hurt that second time, I thought this guy, if he stays healthy, he's going to be in the NFL as long as he wants to be in the NFL. And the night that I think first brought that to my plate or to my mind and saying that Marcus Lattimore is a guy who can play as long as he wants to in the NFL is the night that he took the football 40 times and pounded it down Florida's throat in front of almost 95,000 people. And, I mean, he was exhausted and he got stronger. And I knew that night, like, this guy is an NFL running back.
Hey, Jamie, real quick. We got this 7:45 hard break. We'll do that. We'll come back and finish this up and talk PGA Championship as well. You're listening to the early game. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing. It is a beautiful day today, but we did have some rain this past weekend, and with summer around the corner, you know what? We're going to get some of those summer thunderstorms that brings hail. Is your roof ready to handle that? If not, it's time to call Mid-State Roofing, because for nearly 30 years, they've been the leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. It is their history that is your assurance their professionals will provide the proper advice, service, and results to the needs of your facility. So go ahead, give them a phone call. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Mid-State Roofing is there to help you. 803-356-1919. Again, that's 803-356-1919. You heard that right. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So doesn't matter what time. If you've got a leak, let Mid-State Roofing take a peek. Again, give them a phone call, 803-356-1919. Let them help you with a maintenance contract today. That's Mid-State Roofing. Bill Gunner for the Ecton Law Firm. If you are having tax issues, if you've received one of those mean levies of notice or levies of intent to notice of intent to levy, I'll get to it, then it's time to call the Ecton Law Firm. John Ecton and his team, they have local solutions. They're ready to help you, whether you're here in Columbia, whether you're in Florence, or whether you're in Myrtle Beach. The Ecton Law Firm is ready to help you. So don't hesitate. Give them a phone call today and get a free consultation. 803-771-9800. Again, that's 803-771-9800. Again, they have a local team dedicated to resolving your income or business tax issues for good. They understand the challenges you face, and that's why they want to offer you a free consultation and work with you. Give the Ecton Law Firm a call today. 803-771-9800. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. 7:49 as we wrap up hour number 2 with Jamie Bradford. Joins us each and every Monday. And obviously we've talked baseball, talked a little Marcus Lattimore. But, Jamie, the other fun story from the weekend, Xander Schauffele now doesn't have to walk around with one of those titles of best golfer to never win a major. He birdies 18 for the PGA Championship. So let me ask you, Preston, go back to your question. I'll let Preston ask it because it is a legitimate question, although I thought there were reasons behind it. But go ahead and ask Jamie.
I saw some statistics and it was saying how the numbers were on fire. People were shooting really well. And the question was kind of thrown around was the course too easy, especially for a major? Was it too easy, of course? And I'm obviously a very casual golf fan, but I just wanted to wonder what y'all's opinions on that was.
Well, I thought the whole weekend was rigged, to be honest with you. I mean, they arrested the number one player in the world. I'm just kidding.
Okay, well, I was like, whoa.
Hey, I'll tell you what. If we arrest this guy, maybe Schauffele can win his first major. Let's try that. So Scotty doesn't win another one of these things. No, I think it just ended up playing out perfect because you had all that weather that came through, and I know they had done some upgrades to the course and it hadn't played yet at a major level. And then you had some of the way the greens kind of slowed down after all the rain had come through and stuff like that. I mean, you could probably make that argument, but I'll be honest with you guys, I don't think that's that big of a deal. You know why? Because we don't ever get to see this. It's okay in my mind every once in a while to see them go really low and let's see who can go the lowest. And I think that was part of what it wasn't, somebody falling apart. It was shot for shot, birdie for birdie down the stretch to win the thing. We don't get that a lot. And I'm okay with seeing that every once in a while like we did this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, that actually brings up the question of what do you, kind of like Preston's asked, what do you like in your baseball games or your basketball games, and what do you like defensive or offensive? Or I think Preston one time was talking about the perfect score in an NBA game, and it was interesting. The only thing I didn't like is I did feel yesterday, at least going into the round, that Morikawa and I thought it would be Morikawa and Schauffele, they would both shoot minimum 5 under, which eliminated some guys because that meant you had to go out and basically put a 63 or 62 or at best a 64 on the board to put yourself in contention. I will admit this also. This is me. I was happy that Bryson DeChambeau was in it in the final because I had somebody to root against. I had a villain. I don't like DeChambeau. I don't know how you felt, Jamie.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a great point, and most people don't. So that absolutely added to it as well. And I'm like, in baseball, I don't like seeing a lot of runs. Give me a 3-2 ball game. I'm a pitching and defense guy. And in football, I like defense. And in golf, I don't like to see them, 20 under every week. No, but it's okay to see it every once in a while because generally you're waiting on someone to fall apart and then somebody wins a major by shooting 3 under or 6 under or 1 over or something like that. But it's all right every once in a while to see them go tit for tat, shot for shot. And so I was good with that. I thought the course allowed for it. They were making shots. You get the birdie to win it on 18th. I mean, it was a special day after a wild start to the weekend at Valhalla. We'll remember this one for a long time. I can assure you that.
The Twitter/X tweets, the memes, the GIFs, all the little things that go on. It was a phenomenal weekend. Golf has got to find, the PGA in particular, has got to find a way to carry this momentum. It's a shame that some of it comes because of an arrest, and we'll get more information on that this weekend. But this was fun to see golf back in the spotlight and really have the attention of people because I tell you what, the things that have happened with PGA and LIV and the back and forth, it's lost some of its luster. But this weekend, it was able to grab it back, and I'm interested to see how they can uphold this momentum going to the U.S. Open in June.
Yeah, it's a good point. And it was a first-time winner and a very likable dude. Like, who doesn't like Xander Schauffele? I mean, everybody, like, if you follow golf, it's like he's going to win it at some point in time, right? He's got to win a major somewhere. And he finally got one finally got one. And it wasn't just the arrest. It was the fact that it was Scotty Scheffler,
Yes.
like the most unlikely dude to be arrested. It was Scotty Scheffler, the number one player in the world, like the most humble, likable guy that there is. Like he drives the truck he drove in like high school. And this guy went to jail over trying to get to the course, you know. So yeah, I'm with you. I mean, that was a bizarre situation. So, yeah, I'm with you. I think it helped golf, and I hope it does. I love golf, and like to see it keep going in the right direction.
Well, we'll see if the momentum can sustain. Jamie, we always appreciate it. Look forward to catching up with you. We'll text. We're off next Monday, Memorial Day, but we'll catch up with you. All right.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Happy
it.
Memorial Day, everybody. See you guys.
Bill Gunner for AAA Heating and Air. You can beat the seasons right now, and you can do it at an incredible cost. How about this? AAA Heating and Air. This is going to sound odd for a second, but right now they're telling their customers no. You heard that right. You think, oh my goodness, what does that mean? Well, here's what they're doing. They're telling you no payments and no interest until 2025 when you purchase a brand new heating and air unit this year. That's right. You heard me right. No payments, no interest for a whole year until 2025. So do what I did last February and call AAA Heating and Air. 803-677-1500. You can get a free estimate today. That's right. You can get new comfort in your home tomorrow with a phone call today, and it all starts with a free estimate. So call 803-677-1500. You need to tell them Bill Gunner sent you, but AAA Heating and Air is ready to take care of you and your family this summer. Call them today for a free estimate. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
We have a tie-up Clemson Road at Percival Road. So Clemson Road at Percival, an accident there. Also Industrial Drive at Zanker and Percival at I-77. A report of a tie-up there as well. And as far as the forecast goes, my goodness, it looks pretty darn nice. Don't see any rain in the forecast till about Friday. So sunny conditions and increasing temperatures, 83 today, 86 tomorrow. Get up to 88 and 90 respectively for the remainder of the week. But right now it's breezy. The sun is out. Loving it. 61 on 107.5 The Game.
8 a.m. as we get you up and get you going here on your Monday morning, May the 20th, and the countdown's really kicking into full force now as Preston Thorne hit us off with the countdowns.
3 days until 100 days. That's the most important countdown because the 100 days is the most important. But it's 3 days until we start the 100-day countdown. It is 104 days until the Southern 500, 60 days until July 19th. However, 57 days until July 16th, which is the actual release of college football. 8 days until National Brisket Day, 25 days until Bourbon Day. 8
days until National Brisket Day. And I went and saw our buddy over at City Limits Barbecue, Robbie Robinson, and absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely. We're hoping that we expect him. We are badgering him. We're going to pester him. We're going to harass him to be in studio next Tuesday, May the 28th, for National Brisket Day to come and join us and talk a little brisket because I had my son Austin and I went over there and had the brisket sandwich. Phenomenal. I encourage you, if you're a barbecue lover, put it on your bucket list to go over there and visit City Limits Barbecue. Was absolutely phenomenal.
It's very rare where you can have both be a barbecue lover and maybe a food snob because they're James Beard Awards. So if you want to scratch that itch, if you just feel like you're high society, you can say, hey, I had some meals from a James Beard Award winner. So
there you go.
There you go.
That was part of what I did this weekend. The other stuff, got into the PGA Championship. We just talked about that. And, Preston, I think, going back to it, it's a shame that it's centered around an arrest, but it got golf back into the spotlight.
Felt some energy around it.
Yeah. You actually, and again, as you point out, I didn't think about this for the casual golf fan, but the fact that it was a high-scoring tournament and the fact that there was a lot of birdies happening, fun to watch.
Jamie brought up a great point, and I've never considered that, but as casual as you can be as a golf fan, maybe tune in on Championship Sundays or something along those lines, it is fun to see dudes making shots.
Right.
That's fun. Dudes making long putts, making, shots out of the rough, doing things out of the sand trap. That's fun as a casual. I'm not specifically interested in all the technicalities. I just want to see dudes make shots.
Right.
So there is a merit to that where I was reading the article and it was saying that maybe the course was particularly too easy, but you did a great job of breaking down as to why some of the things may have fallen, why it did, and maybe it was just the weekend to make shots, and that's there's nothing wrong with that either.
Schauffele shoots 21 under, birdie's number 18 yesterday, and again, a part of that, because he has gone to live and we don't hear or see from him anymore, Bryson DeChambeau's probably fallen off of that polarizing radar. But he was a guy when he played that was polarizing, and that you either liked him or you did not like him. And I fell on the side. I actually switched. I actually went back and forth. I did not like him. And then I felt like he was buying into who he was as kind of almost long drive guy. And, I think they were at the Arnold Palmer tournament, and he hit a shot on a par 4 that was ridiculous and knocked it over the green, and turned around and was like celebrating with fans. And I went, I kind of like that guy. And then he started whining again and complaining, and he got into the whole thing with Brooks Koepka, and I'm more of a Koepka fan, so I'm on the side of polarizing there with that. But to see him there, because, I actually had a guy. Golf's a little different. It's hard to find some guys that are easy to root against. DeChambeau's one of those guys for me. And to see him there at the end, and that's who Schauffele beats, I'm kind of like, oh, really good weekend. Now, the question is, can they sustain that, or does golf now go to the? Is it kind of like horse racing, where we were all in on the Kentucky Derby? I was excited, watched it, big weekend, Derby parties, all kinds, and then you're like, oh yeah, they're racing again. The Preakness, sure, all right, neat.
Obviously they had unfortunate circumstances, one being the one that was actually serious, and then Scotty Scheffler with his incident, I would say, which brought everybody's eyes to it. But then the golf actually lived up to everybody's attention, because it's the one thing to get everybody's attention, but now once you have everybody's attention, do you have dudes that are out there playing really well? So yeah, kudos to the PGA. They capitalized on it, and like you say, can they keep the momentum going? For me, a casual, I'm invested in the storylines. Who's the good guy, bad guy, who's playing well, who's not. And I do think you lose some of that where dudes just go play and live and disappear out of our consciousness. So that is something they're gonna have to figure out.
And then talking about villains, that brings us to what I think is an interesting conversation that if you get into the NBA, we might be heading down a path here. Anthony Edwards and the Timberwolves yesterday go on the road. Both, by the way, it's kind of crazy. Both Game 7s yesterday, you go on the road and they win. The Timberwolves knock off the Nuggets. The Pacers go into New York. Jalen Brunson got hurt, had 17, but
as everybody else did for the Knicks.
Very true. Yeah, the Knicks were asking Spike Lee what his athletic ability still was, all kinds of weird things. But I brought this up off air with Preston. Anthony Edwards is, I think, going to be a very polarizing superstar in the NBA because he's really good, and I like him. But I'm not sure I'm going to continue liking him because there is a smugness with that smirk where he knows he's better than you and a little chippiness to him that I'm not sure is going to last on the I like that side for a while.
And it's gonna be interesting to see how it plays out because he definitely has a personality, a strong personality, and he's very different than Steph Curry, who's nice, meek, mild. LeBron, very businesslike, proper. I'm a businessman, that type of deal. Ant-Man is neither one of those things. He's brash. He's very confident. He has a smirk to him when he plays. What I do think people will appreciate is those he competes. So people have always talked about him, not about, NBA guys don't compete. He competes. He plays for an outpost team in Minnesota, which he was signed with. He hasn't left his team. He stayed at his team. And finally, when you watch him play, he plays with a sense of joy. Like, it's actually fun to watch him play.
An annoying sense of joy.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. It's an annoying sense
Absolutely.
There's a lot of yelling, a lot of screaming, a lot of trash talk. And again, there's that smirk. He enjoys killing you. He basically has said.
He said, yes. So what do you want to do? I want to kill you. You know what I'm saying? That's what he wants to do. And I think it was best illustrated. There was a press conference last night where the announcer, the interviewer was asking him and Kat, who's a whole another deal. And he was kind of asking those guys, he's like, how does it feel that you guys haven't been this far in 9 years? And Ant-Man was like, forget. He didn't say forget. Those 9 years, it's about now. And then they was like, well, you haven't won the conference championship in 20 years. He's like, I don't care about 20 years ago. I care about right now. And I think that encapsulated who the Ant-Man is. It's like, you can like this guy. Again, on the court, he's a very interesting player, and he's taken his team to the Western Conference Finals, which I think is a significant achievement.
In a league that, in a way, has become a little vanilla. We talk about it with LeBron. In a league that has become a little vanilla, I mean, like, what do we really know about Luka Doncic? I mean, what do we Tatum and Jason Brown in Boston, like, they do commercial. Like, right now, we're kind of grasping at this awful Shai Alexander, Chet Holmgren commercial. But there's still cardboard to that. Like, even I don't know if that was their way of acting to make it uncomfortable.
Yeah, it was bad. It's bad.
But Anthony Edwards is a personality, and I think it's going to be kind of like we were just talking about with golf. It's going to be good for the NBA that you're going to have a guy that people are going to tune in to probably want to watch because he's good, but to watch and pull against because you're going to be like, man, that guy's too flashy for me. I don't want to see that.
As we said, we're going to have to check on Mama Thorne's list. He's a high candidate for somebody who she would not like. I'm waiting to see. I haven't gotten her verdict on him yet. I don't think he's maybe hit her radar yet, but he's definitely high on between the use of the language. He uses very selective language a lot of times. Demonstrative on the court, but also, like, I mean, even when you look at last night, I was looking at this last night. And he had this quote. This is what he is as a competitor. Last night, he only scored, he scored, he was minus 14 as a player in the first half of last night. With his plus minus percentage. Second half, he was plus 25. And he has this quote that he comes out and he says, I didn't have it offensively, so I decided I was going to win the game in other ways. And he decided to play lockdown defense because he's a two-way player. He's not just a guy that scores offensively. And that's where you start creeping into the baby Jordan, right? You start creeping into these conversations, which obviously is ridiculous. He's not that. That's not what we're saying. But the idea of you being a two-way player, I don't just score. And also, Bill, to think about this 90s sort of renaissance, he's not just a guy that's hanging out at the three-point line shooting threes. He has a mid-range game. He plays with his back to the basket. He dunks. He drives. All the things that you say that you love in an NBA guy, he has all of that. And some more.
It'll be interesting with the Timberwolves because they're good. They are really good. I expect them to knock off. I expect them to knock off Dallas. I think we're heading for a Celtics-Timberwolves final, which will be a lot of fun, actually. But this is not the cute and cuddly, as you mentioned, Golden State Warriors with Steph and Clay. And at that point, Draymond was not the Draymond we now know. You watch Anthony Edwards, you're like, Karl Anthony Towns, you're like, And Rudy Gobert, you're like, no. This is not a cute and cuddly basketball team. This is one that it's easy to watch and be like, I'm pulling for the other team, whoever they are.
Rudy Gobert, as French as you can be, he just purports himself as everything that you probably would dislike stereotypically about a Frenchman. And he's 7 feet and you're right. This team is a bunch of dudes. You're like, I don't know about these guys, but they play basketball. Then you got Mike Conley.
Yeah.
15 years old. Yeah. He's still hanging around. I
saw that at the beginning of the playoffs. I was like, he's still in the league? He came out with Greg Oden. I remember when they were at Ohio State. That was like 25 years ago. So that was last night. Pacers also roll over the Knicks. Kind of a shame to see that. I would have loved to see a Knicks-Celtics Eastern Conference Championship.
I would have too, but I did take a lot of joy in watching the Knicks lose yesterday.
All those superstars having to sit on the side.
Because they were just showing all the celebrities. Tracy Morgan, Mike Lee, Jon Stewart.
Yeah.
All these people, and it just got sadder and sadder as the game went on. It was kind of cool.
So we've had all that. NHL rolls along tonight. Vancouver and Edmonton, which, by the way, that's a Game 7 tonight. That should be a lot of fun too. That's been a really entertaining NHL series as well. We'll get into a little bit more of that. Talk a few more Game 7s, and we'll get into a little bit more baseball. There's just not much more to say though with baseball. We've covered a lot of it this morning, and I know a lot of people are upset. I'm seeing the text messages come in. You get through tomorrow's game, Preston. Get through tomorrow's game. And if they lose, you wait it out until, I believe, next Monday. Selection Monday, Selection Sunday, Selection Monday. You see where everything stands. And then, yes, questions about the direction of this program will be had after that. So we'll do that. 803-404-6100. You're listening to Bill Gunner, Preston Thorne. She's Jen Jensen. It is the early game.
Preston here. Let me tell you about my friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. So if your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. If it's a cracked windshield, no problem. They'll come out to your location and replace it for you, usually for free, and they work directly with your insurance company to take away the headache. Yes, they will come out to wherever you are. It doesn't matter whether you're at school, home, work, they'll come out to you and give you a free quote for any job. Now, if you're looking to increase the value of your home with new windows or mirrors, Absolute Glass will come out and take care of that for you too. Windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. I say it all the time. If you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com. That's online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
And traffic conditions out there this morning have a couple of accidents we do need to let you know about. Percival at I-77, also Industrial Drive at Zenker, I-20 westbound at Monticello Road, and Clemson at Percival. Also, you'll find an accident there. So do be careful this morning. 83 is going to be our high, but it's going to be sunny, really a good part of the week, at least through Thursday, and we welcome that. 86 tomorrow, 88 Wednesday, maybe even 90 by Thursday. But it's breezy and the sun is out. It's really a pretty nice morning. Right now, we're looking at 65 on the early game.
Eight zero 404-6100 as we roll along. We recapped some of the weekend there, and now it's time for Preston Thorne to give his own personal recap of a wild weekend. Thorns, Buds, and Roses.
It's time for Thorns, Buds, and Roses with Preston Thorne on the early game. 107.5 The Game.
Well, Bill, we had a great weekend. A lot of sports that were happening this weekend, but here's some things that really caught my attention.
All right.
MSG, New York City, the Mecca, the Garden, the place where you play hoops, all the stars, the superstars, the organs, all those things are happening. And the Knicks got blown out. Got their doors blown off. And I can't say that I was that happy, excited, that mad about it. Because, my God, if I was a Pacers fan and I was watching that game, I would have been very upset because it's almost like they really wanted New York to win.
Yeah.
They really wanted the Knicks to win. I mean, they're showing all the stars, the celebrities. They're showing the Garden, and these dudes went out there and laid an egg. Shout out to New York. You played a great season. You got too many guys hurt. Tom Tibbs ran you into the ground like he does every year. And we'll see if this is a thing. Also, New York, Thorns, are y'all getting soft? I thought that was supposed to be the toughest crowd in the nation. Those people gave a standing ovation for a team that lost in the second round of the playoffs. Josh Hart got a standing ovation for losing. That's not the New York that I grew up on. I thought those fans were supposed to be tough. Thorns. Buds. Ant-Man.
Oh, boy.
Told you. He's on his way. One series away from the championship. As he gets higher and higher, people will have to start paying more attention. This young man is very good. It also makes you wonder what exactly Tom Crean was doing at Georgia. When he was there. That's neither here nor there. But Anthony Edwards is very good. He's exciting, polarizing possibly. He's going to be somebody to pay attention to here in the future. Also, upset, who would have thought Kyrie ends up being a good guy? So I'm giving an emotional speech to his team. How would have thought that Kyrie was going to be on the good side of history? Last but not least, Bill, I need X amount of roses.
X.
The X stands for Twitter.
Oh.
Twitter, you are a cesspool of garbage. I get bots every time I try to reply. My account gets hacked. You've ruined the country. You've fallen us into political division. However, there's nothing better than Twitter when a major event hits.
Yes.
The memes, the GIFs, the videos, the edits, everything that happened around Scottie Scheffler this weekend
was awesome.
Was amazing. I could not take my eye away from it. Between Scottie Scheffler this weekend, the Drake and Kendrick battle 2 weekends ago, Twitter is on fire. It is why I cannot give up that godforsaken app, because it is amazing when things are happening. Bill, Twitter is amazing, except when it's not. And most of the time it's not, but sometimes it is.
I'll admit I've gone away from X, Twitter a good bit. I don't tweet as much. I really don't even look at it because, like you said, the app I use on my phone or whatever, I'm getting tweets from 23 hours ago. I have no clue if that just, it's hard to keep up with. The Scotty Scheffler stuff, though, all weekend, phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal on
when the internet comes together to use his brain to do dumb things, that's when it's the best.
Yeah.
When I saw the Scotty Scheffler with the prison orange and the Texas Longhorn logo on his prison uniform, magnificent.
It was a special.
Scotty Scheffler walking out to 50 Cent Mini Men.
Yep.
Tremendous. Just great content, man. That's what it's supposed to be for. I don't care about who you vote for, none of political policies. Give me the dumb stuff on Twitter. Yes. That's what we do well.
That is a bunch of good roses for everybody who participated.
Everybody on Twitter this weekend, you were the star.
I got one other bud for you.
Okay.
Keep an eye on this now. Last weekend, Spencer Rattler drew some very strong reviews, impressive reviews at the New Orleans Saints rookie minicamp. Keep an eye on this. A lot of people impressed with his command of the offense, with his ability to connect with receivers, with his arm. He was invited along with 39 other rookies. He actually was invited as a 5th-round pick now, mind you. He was invited to the NFL football rookie premiere in Los Angeles that connects what they deem marketable rookies, connects them with licensing partners. Fanatics is in it, EA Sports, Sleep Number, FedEx. I didn't know this one, but Panini. I don't know it.
The trading card company.
Oh, okay, all right.
Which is weird. It's strange.
Yeah, but New Era. But he was one of 40 NFL rookies that was invited because the NFL has looked at Spencer Rattler and been like, you're pretty marketable.
That is interesting. As a 5th-round pick, there's probably were no other 5th-round picks at that event.
And it goes on to say the Players Association for the NFLPA, handpicked these guys.
Mm-hmm.
They handpicked these guys, and Spencer Rattler is a guy deemed who could attract major brand endorsements.
Yeah, I mean, we've sort of said an over-under or when he will play this year. I don't know whether that would be through injury or through just attrition, but I look for Spencer Rattler to be on the field, and we'll see how that goes once he gets there.
Yeah, there was a lot of photo ops in that thing, and just keep an eye on that. It's something with the Saints who are still trying to transition and figure things out, and obviously Derek Carr is a guy, but Derek Carr's up there in age a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
And if the Saints don't get off to a good start, you're exactly right. I could see them looking around saying, all right, let's go ahead and trade.
They're going to look straight past the Peterman.
Yes. One other thing about that, and I was talking to somebody, I didn't think about this, but this happens in sports. You know this. The head coach, Dennis Allen, it's a big year for him. And if things are starting to slide and he's like, you know what, we're going to make the switch. That way I can be like, oh, this isn't going well, but look at our future. Give me another year or two at the future. There's some things working in Spencer Rattler's case. I never thought about New Orleans being a great destination for him. It actually, Dennis Allen may halfway through pull the plug on Derek Carr. Like, we liked him, but this guy's our future. Give me another year or two with this guy, and I'll have you where you want.
Yeah, because everybody loves the backup quarterback.
Right.
And so if the things are going bad, you can always be like, hey, I'm going to pull this guy out. Look at what he did. And you could just put that one pass against Tennessee that he threw to Josh Van, just put that on loop, and you're like, this guy, he's going to be playing for us. And you might have something.
Yeah, so keep an eye on that, especially as the NFL will continue to chew up our television time here. They know how to keep that going. So we'll get more into that. 803-404-6100. We'll get into a few other topics as we roll along. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, she's Jen Jensen. It is the early game. Bill Gunner for Old Timey Meat Market. I know I didn't cook quite as much this weekend, but I can tell you right now, I have some turkey wings sitting in my house that will be cooked this week, and I scooped them up from Old Timey Meat Market. That's right. Whether you visit the Lexington store, the St. Andrews Road in Irmo store, or the South Congaree store, you're going to find some incredible things, just like those turkey wings I'm talking about. They're thawed out, and they are ready to hit the smoker, but maybe that's not what you're in the mood for. Maybe you want a great bacon-wrapped filet. Maybe you want some delicious pork chops, or maybe you want some Italian chicken skewers. Those are incredible as well. Whatever you're looking for, Old Timey Meat Market has you taken care of. And again, they've got 3 locations ready to serve you with a non-grocery store experience. That's exactly the reason Old Timey Meat Market is in business and the reason they excel at what they do. So go find out why they have a quality selection that is a cut above the rest. Again, Irmo, South Congaree, or Lexington, stop by Old Timey Meat Market. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
Clemson Road to Percival still working that earlier tie-up, as well as Industrial Drive at Zenker. And Two Notch Road at Longs Pond Road, we do have a report of a slowdown there. We're looking for a high today of 83 and 86 tomorrow. Get to 88 and 90 on Wednesday and Thursday, all sunny days. Loving that. Might see some storms rolling in, though, on Friday, and then off and on chances throughout the weekend for afternoon or evening thunderstorms. 'Tis the season. Right now, it's a little bit breezy and sunny. It is 65 on 107.5 The Game.
803-404-6100 is how we roll along. A fun weekend of sports. PGA Championship. We had Game 7s in the NBA. We had baseball. And we had the NASCAR All-Star Weekend. And you know what? If you're going to have a last weekend in Darlington was Throwback Weekend. Last weekend was Throwback Weekend. This might have been Throwback Weekend All-Star because, Preston Thorne, we had a brouhaha in the pits.
A scuffle, a skirmish. No, I think actually this is past a skirmish because when you actually have punches thrown, you've officially made it to brouhaha. This is official of brouhaha.
This was a legit pit row fight. Like this wasn't like two dudes and some shoving and hold me backs. This was Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
Because last week we thought it was going to be that, but then it kind of it deflated.
Tyler, I think it was Tyler Reddick. I think back there was like, no.
Yeah, I don't want no parts of this. That's not what happened this weekend.
If you haven't seen it, and we're going to play some audio for you here in a second from Fox last night. If you haven't seen it, it's worth taking Kyle Busch approaches Ricky Stenhouse Jr., claiming that Stenhouse bumped into him, only for then Stenhouse to deny it, tell Busch they hit the wall, and then Busch hit the wall and then bumped into him. And Stenhouse was having none of it because he gets approached, I guess we'll have to get Jen's professional take on this. He gets approached, I guess, at his truck, at his hauler, if you will.
Yeah. I'm still trying to find the audio.
And I'll send it to you right now. And Jen, how would you categorize what transpired?
Well, to me, it was a sucker punch from Stenhouse. And Terry and I were talking about that a few minutes ago. That he couldn't leave the track because that track is set up. So he's out in lap 2, and there's no tunnel or anything like that. So until the race is over, Ricky can't leave. So I'm sure he just sat there and just stewed for the entire race because, like I said, he was out by lap 2. So, yeah, he went over to Kyle's hauler and started talking to him and then just, right hook at his face. And it was off. Crew members and Ricky's dad was involved. I'm thinking, okay,
nice.
No, you don't. No, what's the – and because he says, somebody get my dad. It's like, okay, well, Dad shouldn't have been with you in this. Like, he should have watched, but maybe not be a part of it. So,
but there's takedown. I mean, you've got pit crew. This is a full-on WWE wrestling match.
No, it was a big fight. There's no question. But the thing is, I think in this case, I don't think Kyle necessarily needed to retaliate, and especially it's lap 2. You shouldn't have that much tension going yet, But they kind of got in a situation. They were 3 wide. McDowell kind of went up the track a little bit and got into Stenhouse. So then he kind of shifted up the track a little bit, and then bumped Kyle. I mean, it's racing. But boy, Kyle was having none of that, and he took him out. So, yeah.
That's I got to admit, that's my kind of racing right there. Again, you're right. There was a very quick right, a hook, and then as
nice
somebody
overhand.
Yeah, it was upsetting that I guess to some that one of the pit crew guys is just ragdolling people around, just chunking them left and right.
When you got to figure, especially literally, if you got guys in the pit crew, if you ever watch the race, and usually they kind of do it towards the beginning, but they actually have started something this year where a specific team, they let each person on the pit crew introduce themselves. And it's almost like an NFL thing. So-and-so, University of South Carolina, former quarterback or what. I mean, and a lot of these guys have been pro football players, definitely been college football players. They're tough dudes. You ain't messing with them. Not these scrawny little drivers. I mean, the drivers are strong, but they're obviously a little more petite.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to tick off anybody in the crew. Mm-mm.
Listen, man, this is to my tenants. I stand on these things. Nothing wrong with a little brouhaha in a controlled environment. We don't want street fights. That's illegal. But if we're all in agreement that this can happen, nothing wrong with a little skirmish. That's 1. 2, if we're facing each other and our voices are above the regular inside level voice, it's not a sucker punch. you can get punched. If all sucker punches are only from behind. If we're having a conversation and we both recognize that this is a very heated conversation and we are at a space where things might happen, protect yourself at all times.
Do you want to hear the
punch could get thrown?
Here's the audio. This is from
because I thought you were talking about because Jamie Little was interviewing Joey Logano, who won. That's not what this is, but when she's interviewing him and talking about we did this, and you can hear the fireworks in the background. You can also hear the fireworks in the background.
Well, we got to be careful on some of this because Did you already listen? I know this is.
I need to.
No, we know.
Let's listen. We'll take a. We'll do that in a minute because I've watched one of the videos that's like right there on it, and let's just say not safe for work audio, but really entertaining. And as Jen has given out our standings here, Reggie Anderson moves into the lead. He last night had Denny Hamlin, who finished second. Kyle Larson finished fourth. But Chris Buescher finished third there. So Josh picking up 4 points, but Reggie jumps out ahead of me by 2 points in our Corley Pool Solutions checkered flag challenge there. But a really entertaining night at the All-Star race. And again, NASCAR in a way, Preston, going back to some of its roots, more of a throwback weekend there.
Yeah, that's what people want to see. They want to see the old paint schemes. They want to see a little bit of skirmishes, a little scuffling. Yeah, listen, man, it's all good. It's all good in a controlled environment.
Yeah, it sounds. I think we're good.
We're okay. All right, let's. Because again,
and this is exactly what we were talking about. She finishes interviewing Logano, and there's a fight, but they have audio going for both. So yeah,
here you go. This is last night at the All-Star race.
I was on the line. I think all the rules go out the window of clean, so I knew that was coming. I was trying to maintain that clean air. If I lost the clean air, we wouldn't have won the race. So we maintained it all day, and man, feels good. Feels great.
Congratulations. Joey Logano fired up, and we've got a fight going on right now between Kyle Busch and Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
Those two crashed back at lap number 2. And now the pit crews are involved.
Yeah, you can hear that. Get out of here. And I don't understand it, but like that was Stenhouse's hauler, right? That's what you said?
No. Stenhouse went over to Kyle's hauler. And it's funny, after the race, he climbed up on their pit box and wanted to have a conversation with one of the engineers or something. And it's like, where were you going with that? Like, but there was security right there waiting, just in case. But
well, the reason I say is because one of them gets very aggressive about other guys on their truck. And that's when you see him just chunking guys off of his,
get off my truck, man.
Like being thrown around. Check out the video today if you haven't. Don't have the audio up if you get the actual video.
There's several views, so you get to see several views of that. But it is funny when Stenhouse is like kind of on his back, or like somebody's he's been pushed and he's kind of on his back. He's like, "Go get my dad!" Like, so apparently Dad was in there gonna get a couple licks in as well. But I will have to say, one guy to follow on Twitter it's called NASCAR Chasm. He is hysterical, and he actually has the image of Stenhouse kind of leaning on his back and with like one hand on the ground, and he's superimposed a twister mat, so it looks like he's playing Twister. I mean, he just sees things in a whole other way. So if you want good laughs and you're a racing fan at all, you got to check it out.
Third tenant, sir, I'm not aware of your age. You can get it too. So you better move out of the way.
There you go.
That's all I'm saying, sir. That's all.
Dad or no dad.
Dad or no dad, you better move and understand that this is a brouhaha. And I'm not checking IDs here.
Not checking IDs.
That's all I'm saying.
803-404-6100. We'll come back. We'll wrap things up. We may even make a little fun of Dabo Sweeney. It was a rough week for him last week. There was a lot of things he said last week that raised questions. We may get into that a little bit. We will wrap things up. You're listening to The Early Game. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing. From high-rises to hospitals, manufacturing to industrial, Mid-State Roofing designs and installs bonded systems with a protective guarantee that'll keep your operation dry and running long into the future. So give them a phone call. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They are ready to help you. That's 803-356-1919. Again, 803-356-1919. You'll speak with an on-call technician after hours or a Mid-State Roofing staff member during hours. They'll help put you in a maintenance contract that'll help protect that roof. And again, they'll do it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So call Mid-State Roofing today. When you're thinking about your roof, you're thinking about those summer thunderstorms, today is the day to make that phone call. 803-356-1919. If you've got a leak, let Mid-State Roofing take a peek. We were going to do this on Friday, but we were in the process of dealing with Scotty Scheffler trying to get out of the clink to get to his tee time and got completely caught up on that. But, yeah, last week was an interesting week for Dabo Swinney in the transfer portal. At some point, he probably should just come out and be like, we're not going to use it. We don't like the transfer portal. Just be open and honest about it. Don't try to, like, tell us stuff that's just factually incorrect, like this Jim from Dabo last week. No. Oh, no.
Sorry, you wanted me to play it now.
Yeah, go ahead.
I thought there was something else you heard.
Oh, no. Yeah, go ahead.
There's three types of players in the portal. I mean, it's really pretty simple. Most of the guys in the portal aren't good enough to play for us.
Yeah.
That's just the reality of it. I mean, we have guys that are backups at Clemson that go in the portal because they just want to have an opportunity. And most of them are graduates, by the way. But we have guys that are backups, or they want a chance to go play, and I got no problem with that. And so rarely do we have a starter leave Clemson. You've got the majority of the guys. They're guys that are in the portal because they want to have a chance to go start somewhere. Mm-hmm. They're not playing where they are. They're not good enough to come in and play for us. And so we'd rather take a good high school player as long as we can get them, which we do, and you develop them. That's the first type. The second type of guy that goes in the portal is he's only going in the portal as a formality because the deal's already been done. Mm-hmm. He knows where he's going before he ever goes in the portal. So we're not getting that guy. Mm-hmm. And then the third type of guy is going in the portal just to see what he can get. And we're never going to win that war. So, we've been really fortunate because first of all we're established, been there 16 years, and we don't have a lot of attrition. I mean, we had 127 guys go through spring ball, and 125 are still on the roster. After spring post portal closing, so that's a miracle in today's world.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of hullabaloo there, trying to justify not taking players out of the portal.
Listen, man, he has a stance. He's defended it. He stands by it. Obviously, you can hear that statement and hear him say those things. You can say maybe there's some merit to that. Listen, I have no problem with you as a coach making a stance and taking something, but he's just going to have to live with it. And that's the philosophy, then that's what his philosophy is.
Speaking at the Jimmy Rain Foundation Charity Golf Tournament in Montgomery on Thursday, former Alabama coach Nick Saban called out Dabo Swinney for the way the two-time champion has handled the NIL and transfer portal. This is what Saban had to say. He said, regardless of the circumstances in college football right now, you have to be able to adapt. Saban, referring to Alabama, says, we adapted throughout the years. We even won after name, image, and likeness. We had to adapt. We could not do things the same way we always did them. Every coach should be looking forward, not backward. They can't say, well, we always did it this way. Well, you can't do it that way anymore. You need to be adaptable to the circumstances, to be competitive with competition that is adapting. It is the most important thing. Didn't name Swinney by apparently, according to this. Basically, it was referring to something that had been asked about him about Dabo Swinney and Clemson and the differences in their programs from the time that both were competing for national championships to where they were when Saban left. That was what was in the question that was asked of him.
Well, Dabo's retort would be that, Nick, because I don't have to call you Coach Saban anymore. He's not coaching anymore. I'm still in the game, so there's that. But Dabo's retort is that, hey, technically, every player is a transfer portal player because they transfer from high school.
Oh, boy. No, they graduate from high school.
And they transfer from their high school to Clemson. So he does use the portal.
Okay. It goes on to, it just mentions, again, that was a question that was asked to him at this just charity golf event, asked to Nick Saban. And again, it goes on to say just 5 years ago, Swinney was considered to be neck and neck with Saban for title of best coach in the nation. But basically now things have fallen off for the Tigers.
I mean, yeah, they haven't had that much success. So, I mean, I think that goes back to that earlier conversation of maybe Clemson has reached its zenith and its peak as far as back-to-back or, two national championships, all those appearances in the CFP. They may not reach there again. So, have they fallen off? Absolutely. Are they still a pretty solid program? Yes. To go to our conversation, they are still a good football program. They're better than average.
Yeah, well, average. They're not 6-6. I'm with you on that.
Right. They're good. They're better than average.
But they also can look around at a team that went undefeated last year until they ran into Georgia in the bowl game that took 17 transfers and went into Clemson and beat them using transfers. Alabama used transfers. Georgia has picked up transfers. Like, that's the way of the world today. And there are players that are more than good enough to go up there. I mean, look, you have to build your roster from year to year to year. I never know. I don't know if I ever fully agreed with Frank Martin on how he built his roster, because he said, this was pre-transfer portal days, that he recruited his roster for that year, almost kind of giving up the future. But kind of like we joked about with South Carolina basketball, enjoy it while it happens, because I can't promise you what the roster next year is going to look like. And obviously it looks like, again, Lamont Paris has gone out and used the transfer portal extremely well. By the way, real quick, Josh Gray announcing he is going to transfer to Missouri.
Trade.
So it looks like a trade took place there with Jordan Butler and Josh Gray.
We'll send you a big man for your big man. Give us a conditional pick in the next year. Next year's transfer portal. Give us first look. That's what's going to be happening.
So, yeah. But with all that being said, yes, there are players that are good enough to go play out of the transfer. And I don't believe that necessarily every player has his destination figured out the second they enter the transfer portal. I think some are looking for the next best thing or to step up a level and go play for a better program and are good enough to do that. We've seen Juice Wells try that.
Yeah. Dabo's not feeling that.
No, he's not.
And he's going to either live with this or they're going to die by this. So we'll see.
They'll play a team that doesn't mind taking transfers. Georgia, to open the season, they're a 2-touchdown underdog right now. 3 days until 100 days until we find out a little bit about that when the Bulldogs and the Tigers face each other and the Gamecocks take on Old Dominion. We'll continue the countdown tomorrow, Preston.
We're back one more time.
Y'all have a great rest of the day. Bill Gunner for the Mortgage Guru, Jacob Crowder with First Palmetto Bank. Jacob is the mortgage guru in this market. I know that to be a fact because a couple years ago I used him to get a great interest rate. He helped with all the paperwork, did all the important things you have to have done after you find that dream home. So give him a phone call today, 803-719-1005. And on top of that, First Palmetto Bank, locally owned and operated right here in the Midlands, and that allows Jacob to have local decision makers, meaning quick and precise underwriting. So if you found the dream home or if you're looking to build a home, First Palmetto Bank and Jacob Crowder are ready to help you. Again, give him a phone call today and learn more about how he can help find that great interest rate or get you the proper deal. 803-719-1005, or you can email him, the letter J, Crowder at firstpalmetto.com. Again, he's the mortgage guru, Jacob Crowder with First Palmetto Bank.
All right, still looking at a few accidents on the roads. First of all, we'll go with Clemson Road at Percival Road, Industrial at Zinker, and Two Notch Road at Long Spawn. Your weather outlook looking pretty good for the week. Mostly sunny, mostly sunny, mostly sunny. Highs in the 80s, mid-80s mostly. Hit around 90 on Thursday. Mostly sunny skies, only a small chance of rain. Even through the weekend, only about 30% chance of those afternoon thunderstorms. So, pretty good overall. Looks like a great week ahead. It's Captain Dave, WIS-TV Traffic Center.
9 o'clock on your Monday morning. Welcome in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head along with you here on The Game. Hopefully you had a fantastic and fun weekend. You may have had more of a fun weekend if you did not spend Friday night and Saturday afternoon watching Gamecock Baseball, because unfortunately we went into the weekend after Thursday's game, of course, with a 4-game losing skid, and we sit here on Monday morning with a 6-game losing skid, as yes, indeed, the Gamecocks did drop all 3 games against the number 1 Volunteers up in Knoxville over the course of the weekend. There's really no better way to describe it than that just sucks. Where this team at right now in general just kind of sucks, with lack of a better phrase there. There was so much momentum. Going back a couple weeks ago, had won 3 of 4 series. So we talked about winning 2 road series in places that hadn't treated the Gamecocks well in the past, in Gainesville and the other Columbia. You'd beaten a highly ranked Kentucky team. Things were looking up. And then you just hit this skid to win the regular season. Now, we didn't have a lot of confidence coming away from game number 1 on Thursday night, and we broke that game down plenty on Friday. But you just wanted to escape the weekend with at least 1 win, just something to give you some semblance of being pointed in the right direction, and even in losing the series, if you just take 1 win against the number 1 team in the country, that gives you something to cling on to at the end of the regular season. And unfortunately, that didn't end up being the case. Now, game 2 started off the right way, but did end up going south towards the end of it. Garrett Gainey was the option to pitch in game number 2. Now, we know going into the weekend, they had only listed Ty Good as the starter on Thursday and left everything else to be, because you wanted those options for the entire weekend if you needed to use some of these guys in different roles. Garrett Gainey, of course, primarily a bullpen guy, had more than earned his opportunity to become a starter. But if you ran into a scenario on Thursday night where maybe you're up by a run or 2 in this, 8th inning or something like that, you could bring in Gainey to hopefully lock things down and secure a win. Game got away from them on Thursday, didn't end up needing that, so that allowed Gainey to start on Saturday. And once again, was tossing a gem of a game. Had 3 hits and no runs through 5 innings. Christian Moore comes up, gets that solo home run in the 6th, and then Gainey proceeds to get a ground out and then allows 2 singles. So at that point, it seemed like the wheels were starting to come off a little bit. Now you can either opt to keep him in or opt to go ahead and make a move. And you opt to keep him in to get that final out, and you're kind of playing with fire a little bit there, and then Hunter Easley hits the 2-run homer, and that was all it wrote for Garrett Gainey. So maybe you left him in a little too long there, but at the same time, I get it. He's your best pitcher. You have confidence in him. Let him work through. Let him try and get that final out and get out of the 6th inning. That obviously ended up going sideways for them. McCoy comes in for the final out. And then he ends up putting a couple in on the 7th, and they decide to pull him. Now, this is where things get interesting. At that point in time, you are down 4-3, still a 1-run game. So things are still, you still have an option to be in this game there. I feel like you could have put in Chris Veach at that point in time. But instead, they opted to go for Parker Marlott, the true freshman, and then gives up the grand slam, and at that point, boom, game's over. You've already lost the series at that point in time. So that was something that, and I'm not the only one, a lot of people out there were talking about this, writing about it on Gamecock Central. We'll talk to Jack Feltree in just a few minutes here. I feel like that was an option that maybe could have gone a different way. if you're with a more experienced pitcher at that point in time. Do you still end up winning the game? I don't know. But I feel like that may have been a little bit more of a sure bet in that scenario to maybe save yourself the opportunity to stay in that game, and try and piece something together. Now, we've talked so much about pitching these last two series, but the offense deserves to have some fingers pointed at it as well. The offense was absent for roughly 8 of the 9 innings, which isn't great either. You put together those 3 runs in the the third inning on the second inning on Friday night, and then not a whole lot to write home about from an offensive standpoint after that. And when you're playing a high-powered offense like Tennessee, scoring 3 runs is not going to get the job done more often than not. So, that one gets away from you. Saturday ends up, kind of being a bullpen day because you want to preserve as many arms as you can for Hoover coming up starting tomorrow, which don't worry, we'll get to. And you started off decent enough, then the wheels came off, and then on Saturday, you had no offense to speak of. Just scoring the lone run. Now, yes, Tennessee didn't demolish you from an offensive standpoint on their end, but still, you didn't do enough to keep yourself in that game. And to sum all this up over the weekend, I don't really know what to be optimistic with this team about right now. And as I've said many times, I'm not a negative person. I'm more of a glass half full, but I'm looking for something to kind of cling on to coming away from this weekend, getting set for Hoover, again, coming up tomorrow, and I don't know what to grab onto. I don't really have anything at this point in time. Is this a team with a lot of talent that we've seen on display at times this year? Yes, absolutely. And again, we've seen them beat some of the better teams in the country. Kentucky. Obviously swept Vanderbilt earlier this year. Now, is Vanderbilt as good as they have been in years past? They're not. And again, you've picked up some quality wins against good opponents, but baseball's a game of momentum too. And not everything is predicated on what you do in your final couple games, and that shouldn't be the only thing that you get judged off of when we're talking about the postseason. But it's worth something if you can find a way to win maybe 1 or 2 of these games, between Tennessee and Georgia these past 2 weekends. But when none of them, that's rough. And you already have a fan base that, and we've talked about this at times this year, just seemed a bit apathetic overall with how the team's performing and with what the expectation of this team was. And now you're really giving them nothing to be excited about going into the first leg of the postseason with the SEC tournament, and hopefully more after that. But we'll certainly have to see. It's just a tough place to be. I mean, there's really no 2 ways about it. And I feel like we've been having this conversation over and over again here as of late. But again, this team is just faltering at the wrong time. And fingers crossed they can put something together over the course of the next couple days out in Hoover to give you some semblance of hope. But I don't know right now. And I get the collective frustration that the fans have. And look, there's a lot of people calling for, a move to be made and find a new head coach and all that kind of stuff. That's a conversation for after the season's over. What they're going to do, I don't know. And as I've said many times, I'm not the person that's going to sit here and bang my fist on the table saying, you need to fire that guy, you need to get rid of that guy and all that kind of stuff. That's not me. Unless it's just painfully obvious that something needs to happen. Because there's still hope for this team. If they go on a run in the postseason, then, all that kind of gets swept under the table, probably. Because at the end of the day, it's about what your end result of the season is. If you can make it into the NCAA tournament, however far you go, that's what people are going to judge you on at the end of the day. Not necessarily, how you ended the regular season or the SEC tournament or anything like that. But for the Gamecocks, the optimism's just not there right now for them to put something decent together in that, in the SEC tournament and to roll that into the NCAA tournament too. And I hope I'm wrong. I really want this team to go out there and prove me wrong and take care of Alabama tomorrow and, go on a run over the course of the next couple of days and maybe bring home a trophy from Hoover. I don't know. History, suggests otherwise when it comes to South Carolina. But strange things happen. Baseball is a very, very weird game. But they need some kind of spark. They need some kind of something just to steer them in the right direction for whatever the postseason ends up meaning for them. But tough weekend. Again, pitching is a problem right now. Outside of Garrett Gainey, and again, things did not end well for him on Saturday. And that's the tough debate. Is like, as I mentioned, do you keep the guy in that's your best pitcher, or you take him out and try and hope the fresher arm can come in and get things under control? I know a lot of people are again dunking on Coach Kingston for keeping Garrett Gainey in as long as he did, but at the same time, if he gets pulled, after giving up the solo home run to Christian Moore, and then McCoy comes in and he's the one that gives up the couple singles and the 2-run homer and all that kind of stuff, then we're just saying, okay, well, you pulled Garrett Gainey too early. So it's one of those things that you're going to run into problems either way, it seems like. So I get keeping Garrett Gainey in, hoping that, again, your best pitcher right now can dig himself out of a hole. Unfortunately, wasn't able to do that. But again, there's a whole lot of issues with this team right now as a whole. And in fact, we'll get to some of these issues coming up next as Jack Feltry joins us as always. Recapping the weekend as he was up there in Knoxville doing this at all himself. So we'll talk to him coming up in just a moment. As a reminder, as always, you can check us out on the Game TV, sponsored by our friends over at Shepherd's Glass, and powered by Integrated Media, as well as check us out on the 107.5 The Game app. Just go to your app store, Google Play Store, Apple App Store, give us a download and listen to us wherever you are. We'll continue navigating through the weekend that was of Gamecock Baseball, and I don't know, maybe turn this into a group therapy session because it feels like we all kind of need it right now. Up next with Jack Feltry from Gamecock Central here on The Extra Point on The Game.